So for seminar 5, question 1, seminar 5, we know that Ali and Zahira, so they're brothers and sisters, okay, they inherited a business and they each own 50% of the share capital. So they each own 50%, but they don't have any say in the company's management. But they each own 50% of the shares. The company has 30,000 in the bank account, and it's saying that they're proposing that they want to invest these funds in a project. So, and then the project in year 1 is going to make 8,000, in year 2 it's going to make 10,000, and in year 3 it's going to make 17k. So we're basically going to do net present value project, no other cash flows associated. So they have 30,000 in a bank account, free. They want to invest this in the project, and the project's going to make, year 1 is going to make cash flows of 8, year 2 is going to make cash flows of 10, and year 3 it's going to make cash flows of 17. And they're saying if the 30k isn't used in the project, it will be paid out as dividends. But if the project is accepted, the cash flow it produces will be paid out as full dividends when they arrive. And Ali, so this is her brother, so they both have 50% share capital, so they're both 50% owners. Ali is saying that he wants to invest in the project, and Zahira, who owns another 50%, she's saying that the company isn't acting in her interests. It's failing to act in their interest if it doesn't pay out the dividends, so she wants the money now. And her issue is basically she wants to go on the round the world trip as soon as possible. Okay, so she doesn't want to wait. She doesn't want to wait for the company to, invest the money into this project and wait 3 years and see if it makes a profit or not. She just wants the money now so she can go on a holiday, around the world holiday trip as soon as possible. So she doesn't want to wait. And then Ali's saying, look, we need to invest in this project. It's a good idea. And they're lending and borrowing at 4%. Okay, so they're lending and borrowing at 4%, which means that if we're going to be looking at net present value of the project, we want to be looking at 4%. And question A is actually really easy. So question A is just saying calculate the NPV of the proposed project. So first, just work out the NPV of the project, and then question B and C is about whether she can borrow and dividend policy. So question A, NPV of the project, we're investing 30k, and so for this one, for NPV of the project, we don't actually want to use the tables, because Sir said it just doesn't work for this question. For some reason, it just doesn't work. So he showed us a different way. So he said, look, so you're investing 30k, so 705. So you're investing 30k, you're investing 30,000 in the project, okay, 30,000 in a project. And it's saying that in year 1, so year one, it's going to make how much? Year 1, it's going to make 8,000. Okay, year 1, it's going to make 8,000. In year 2, it's going to make 10,000. And in year 3, it's going to make 17,000 cash flow from the project. So we're borrowing 4%. So it's telling you that the company is able to lend and borrow at 4%. So we want to do NPV at 4%. Okay, so investing 30k. So the 30k is gone. 30k is gone. So year one we're looking at 8 grand. So we're making 8,000 at 4%. So we want to do 8,000 divided by 1 plus 4%, 0.04 to the power of 1. That's the first year. And then year 2, in year 2, so year 1, year 2 we're looking at making 10k. So 10,000 over 1 plus 4% again. So it's 4%, 1 plus 0.04, this time squared because it's year 2. So you're dividing it by that being squared. And for year 3, we're making 17, we're going to get 17,000 in our cash flows, and we're going to divide that by 1 plus 4% again, cubed to the third year, because this is year 3. So that's year 1, that's year 2, and that's year 3. And so the idea is, should we invest in this project? Well, to invest in this project, we need to make more than we're actually investing. So the project needs to make more than 30,000. If the project makes more than 30,000, they have to invest in the project. Okay, they can't listen to Zahira, because they wouldn't be acting in the company's interest. They'll just be acting in Zahira's interest. So Ali would be right. So first of all, so let's work out. So question 1, question 2, year 1, year 2, year 3. So year 1, let's see how much we're going to make. So year 1, so 8,000 divided by 1 plus 0.04 equals. So this stuff. So first year we're going to make 7692. Okay, so first year 1 we're going to make 7692. Year 2 we're going to make. So year 2 we're getting 10,000 cash flow from the project, and it's the second year, so 4%. Again, we're doing NPV at 4% for the second year. And we're going to make 9246. So 9246 for year 2. Year 1 7692. Year 2 is 9246. Year 3 equals. So year 3 we're going to make 17,000 from the project, and we're doing it at 4%. So 1 plus 0.04 to the third year divided by 3 equals 15113. Okay, so 15113. So these are our cash flows. We're discounted at 4% net present value. So we've discounted the cash flows at NPV 4%. Year 1 we're making this much. Year 2 we're going to make this much from the project. Year 3 we're going to make this much. So for us to accept this project and say, look, the project's worthwhile, this needs to be greater than the 30k that we invested at the start, at the end of the 3 years. So let's just see, 7692 plus 9246 plus 15113 equals 32051. So 32051. So the company is going to make 2051 profit from the project. And the question A is just saying calculate the NPV of the proposed project. So the NPV of the proposed project is basically 32051, profit of 2051. And yes, you should accept the project. It's a good idea. So that's part A. So all of this is just part A. And then part B is saying explain whether the company is acting in the best interest of both shareholders if they can borrow at 4% or if they can borrow at 10%. And question C, so we need part C for part B really. So part C is saying, well, explain the implications of dividend policy. Okay, so what dividend policy is basically saying is that, so dividend policy is basically saying that if a shareholder wants the dividends early, because she wants to go on a round the world trip, so she wants the money ASAP. She doesn't want to wait for the 3 years until the project's done. So she wants the money as soon as possible. And dividend policy says, well, if a shareholder wants the dividends early, they can borrow from the company. They can borrow from the company their share, because they're both 50% owners. So their share of the NPV of the project. Okay, so we have Ali and Zahira, and we have Zahira, and they're both 50% owners. So Ali gets 50% and Zahira gets 50%. Okay, and the NPV of the project 32051. So that's how much. So 2,051 profit, but altogether the project is going to make £32,051. Okay, and because they're 50% owners, 32051 divided by 2, so they each get their own share. So 16,025. So 16,025 to Ali, 16,025 to Zahira. So Ali gets 16,025, Zahira gets 16,025 because they're both 50% owners. And the idea is that Zahira wants, so Ali doesn't mind. He doesn't mind investing in the project, so he'll wait. He doesn't mind. Zahira needs the money as soon as possible. She doesn't want to wait until the 3 years are done, and then the project makes the money. So what she can do, dividend policy tells you what Zahira can do is she can borrow. So she can borrow this amount. So she needs £16,025 to fund her round the world trip. She doesn't want to wait. So what she can do, she can borrow the money early. She can borrow the money before the 3 years. She can borrow the money early from the company. And because the NPV of the project is 4%, she needs to borrow at 4%. Okay, so if she borrows at 4%, the idea is that if she borrows at 4%, when she borrows from the company, she's going to get her 16,025. She's going to use that. She's going to spend it. But when her dividends come in, because she's borrowing, when her dividends comes in, her dividends are basically going to pay the loan off. So when she comes back from a round the world trip, she doesn't have to pay the loan back because her dividends are going to pay back the loan. And Ali, he doesn't want the money early, so he's fine to wait for the dividends after the 3 years. But Zahira wants it early, so she needs to borrow from the company. So okay, so Zahira is going to borrow. So question A is saying whether the company is acting in the best interest if Ali and Zahira can both borrow at 4%. So if they can borrow from the company at 4%. So Zahira, her 50% share. Her 50% share equals 16,025. Okay, her 50% share equals 16,025 from the company. and she's going to borrow this. So year zero, she's going to borrow from the company 16,025. But she's gonna have to, her dividends are gonna pay back the company, and we want to know, is that going to be the case? So is this gonna prove us right? So okay, so 16,025, she's borrowed that from the company. So year one, so we need to focus on year one. So year one, 50% of her dividends. So these dividends here. So the company is making 8,000 in year one dividends, 10,000 in year two dividends, 17,000 in year three from the project. 50% of each would go to each person. So year one, 50% of her dividends are going to pay off the loan. So 50% of her dividends are going to pay off the loan. So in year one, she gets 8,000 dividend. She gets 50% of the 8,000 dividends. Okay, so year one, so 50% of 8,000 is 4,000. So 4,000 is going to pay off the loan. But the problem is, she has to pay. So she's borrowing at 4%. She has to pay the company back 4% fee. Okay, so she's borrowing 16,025 at 4%. So the first year, she needs to pay back a fee to the company. So 16,025, she has to pay back the 4% to the company. So add 641. So the 4,000 dividends is going to pay off the loan, but the 641 fee is going to add to the loan. So now the loan, so it's going to change. So the amount's going to change. So she borrowed 16,025. She borrowed 16,025 from the company. The first year she's gonna get her dividends. That's gonna pay off some of the loan, but she has to pay a cost. She has to pay 4% to the company. Okay, so now her loans drops from 16,025 to 12,666. So now this equals 12,666. That's the end of year one. So this is year one. Year two, again, she gets dividends, 50% of the dividends that the project makes in year two. So year two, the project makes 10,000. So year two, the project makes 10,000. So year two, the project makes 10,000. So she's going to get 50% of the 10,000 again. So 5,000 of her dividends is going to pay off the loan. Again, she has to pay a fee. She has to pay the 4% fee. So this time, the fee is 12,666 times by 4%. The amount she's going to pay back. Each year she has to pay back the 4% fee to the company that she's borrowing from. So she has to pay 507. So the fee is 507. That means at the end of year two, her debt outstanding that she has to pay for the loan is 12,666. That was the end of the first year. Dividends pays off some of the loan, so half her dividends pays off some of the loan, but she has to pay a fee for the borrowing. It means at the end of year two, her outstanding debt is 8173. So equals 8173. That's the end of year two. So that's the end of year two. Now we're looking at year three, the final year. So year three, again, 50% of her dividends are going to pay off the loan. 50% of her dividends. So year three, how much dividends does she get? She gets 17,000. She gets 50% of the 17K. So 50% of 17,000. Okay, so 50% of 17,000. So 17,000 divided by 2, 8,500. So she's going to get 8,500 again to pay off the debt. But again, she has to pay a fee to the company for borrowing. So 8173. 8173, because that was our outstanding balance for year two. 8173 at 4% again equals 327. She's paying 327 fee again. So the end of year three, realistically, it needs to be zero. She's gone early and her dividends needs to pay everything off, so she doesn't have to pay anything back. So it needs to be zero. So 8173 is her debt outstanding from the end of year two. Year three, she got half her dividends, 8,500. But she had to pay a fee. She had to pay a 4% fee back to the company that she's borrowing from. So add the 327 fee equals 0. Okay, so it equals 0. So it means perfect. So dividend policy is telling you, okay, you did the MPV of the project at 4%. This means that because you're a shareholder, you want the money early before the 3 years. You can borrow the money from the company. You can only borrow the money from the company if you're borrowing at the same as the MPV. If you borrow at 4% from the company. If you do the MPV of the company, if you do MPV of the project at 4%, you can only borrow the same amount at 4%, at the same percent from the company, so that your debt is paid by your dividends. So that's what question 2 is saying. Question 2 is saying, well, can they both borrow at 10%? The answer to I, we worked out, yes, she can borrow at 4% because her dividends will pay off the 4% that she's borrowing from the company. But can she borrow at 10%? Well, the thing is, she can't borrow at 10%. She can't borrow at 10% because the MPV was done at 4%. So that means because the MPV was done at 4%, if she borrows at 10% from the company, it's too high. So what I mean by it's too high, it means she's going to have debt outstanding. She's still going to have to pay. She's still going to have to pay the company. Her dividends aren't going to cover her 10%. And you can show this. So you can say year zero. You can kind of show this. Year zero, 16,025. She's borrowing from the company. Okay, year zero, she's borrowing. Year one, she gets her 50% of her dividends. She gets 50% of her dividends. So year one, she got 8K. 50% of her dividends was 8,000. So again, 4,000 is going to pay off the debt, but this time she's paying at 10% of the fee. Instead of 4%, she's paying at 10%. So 16,025, she's paying at 10%. So she has to pay 10% fee back to the bank. So she's getting 1,603. So she has to pay back 1,603 to the company. Means that 16,025, take away the dividends, that pays it off. So take away the 4,000 from her dividends, plus the fee, plus the 10% fee of borrowing from the company. Means the end of year one, she's got 13,628. Okay, end of year one, 13,628. Okay, fine. Year two, again, 50% of the dividends. 50% of the dividends. So year two, she got 10K. So again, so 5,000. 5,000 is going to pay off the debt, but we get a fee again. So we get, end of year one was 13,628. So 13,628. What's the fee that she has to pay back for the company for borrowing? She has to pay back 1,363. So plus 1,363 equals. So 13,628. That was the end of year one. 13,628. Take away the 5,000 because the 5,000 dividends is going to get rid of some of your loan, but you have to pay back a fee for borrowing. You have to pay back 1,363 at 10%. 1,363 because you're borrowing at 10% means the end of year two you get 99,991. That's the end of year two. Year three, she needs to pay off the whole loan. Her dividends needs to pay off the whole loan for this to work. So year three, 9991 is the end of year two. Year three, again, 50% of her dividends needs to pay off the loan. So 50% of her dividends, she got 17,000 at the end of year three. So 17,000, how much was that? Was 18 and a half, I think. 17,000 divided by 2, 8 and a half. Okay, so 8 and a half. So 8,500 is going to pay off some of the debt. But again, she's got a fee. So this time, so the end of year two is 9991. So 9991 times by the 10% that she has to pay back to the company is 9991. So add 999, just add 999. So 9991, take away her 50% share of the dividends that covers the debt, add the fee that she has to pay back to the company, equals 2,490. So that means she's left with 2,490 outstanding. So she still has to pay 2,490 to the company for the loan that she took. So it shows that because we did the NPV of the project at 4%, if she wants the money early, she can borrow 50% of the NPV of the project. Our NPV of the project was 32,051. She's a 50% shareholder, so she can borrow 50% of this, which is 16,025, but she can only borrow it at 4%. If she borrows it at 4%, because the NPV of the project was 4%, that means she borrows it at 4%, her dividends are going to pay everything. Her dividends will pay everything off. But if she does the NPV of the project at 4% and she borrows from the company at 10%, it's too high. She can only borrow at 4%. If she borrows at 10%, at the end of the year three, she's going to have money outstanding and she won't be able to pay it off. So that's it. So A, we already know what the NPV of the project is, and we know that we should do the project because it's profitable and it's going to help the business. For BI, are they acting in the best interest of the shareholders? Are they acting in the best interest of the shareholders if she can borrow at 4%? Yes, they are, because if she borrows at 4%, she can pay off her dividends will pay off the debt that she borrows from the company. Are they acting in the best interest if she borrows at 10%? No, they're not acting in her best interest if she borrows at 10%. Why? Because she's going to have money outstanding. It's too high. The 10% fee to the company is too high. And C, comment briefly on the implications of your answer on dividend policy. So dividend policy, we already know what dividend policy is. Dividend policy is just saying that if a shareholder doesn't want to wait for dividends, they can take out a loan from the company for 50% of the NPV of the project that the company is taking. So because the company doesn't want to give out the dividends early, it doesn't want to give out the 30K early, it wants to invest in a project. Dividend policy says the shareholder that wants the money early can take out a loan of the company for 50% of the NPV of the project, and she can only and the ideal thing is if she can borrow from the company at 4%, the same amount as the NPV of the project, it's perfect. It will pay off her it'll pay off her loan from the company. But if she borrows at 10%, it's just not her best interest. It's going to be too high and she's going to have debt outstanding. So that's it. At first, when I saw this question, it was actually really quite difficult, but it makes sense. I think this is the hardest bit, trying to calculate this. This is the hardest bit. But the thing is, you just have to realize that it keeps on changing. So the end of year one, you're looking at this part of when you're paying back the company, you're 4% of this. End of year two, you're looking at 4% of this. And that's it. That's the only hard bit, really. But I think it makes sense. It should make sense.